All right, and now everyone, please put your hands together and give a warm welcome to your host, Heather Torres.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our session here today. Thank you to those of you who have joined us on campus and also to those of you who have joined us online. My name is Heather Torres, and I'm the program manager for the Entertainment Business Master's program. I'm hosting this session titled Creativity is a Catalyst for Change, Student Work, Climate Change, in the United Nations. So please put your hands together and help us welcome our panelists, Film Bachelors students. We have Soule and Dionne Ramdeen. And of course, Film Bachelors graduate Dimitri Pantchev. So I had the huge honor of being able to go to France with these wonderful people back in December. And this panel here today is to share a little bit about our experience in France. We had the opportunity to spend some time with some wonderful hosts, Pierre and Clement. They work with the French Embassy, and they helped to make this whole thing possible. So I want to start by telling you a little bit about how our relationship with the French Embassy and the UN came to be. Back in 2013, Full Sail was approached by the French Embassy, and they asked for students to develop film projects and art projects and music projects and all kinds of great projects to be used in the FACTS conferences that were happening around the United States. FACTS stands for the French American Climate Talks, and they were designed to create awareness for certain regions. They knew what types of climate change things were happening around the world. And so the first contest ran back in 2014, and we had some amazing submissions. It turns out that Dimitri and Dionne ended up winning in categories for art and film back in our very first contest that we did. And the French Embassy was so impressed with how that contest went that they ended up asking us to do a second contest in 2015. And this time they were offering to fly 3 of our students to France if they had the winning projects or the winning videos. And so we accepted videos. I see we have some people in our audience here today that submitted videos, and they were amazing videos. It made it very hard to decide who was going to go. But it turns out that these 3, after a long interview process and reviewing submissions and everything, they ended up being our candidates that were able to go to France. So I want to show you a photo here. This is us on top of Lyon in France with our host Clement and Pierre, which you see in the photograph with us. After months of planning with the French Embassy, we initially settled on a date to be in November. And shortly before our trip, they ended up changing the date to December, and it turned out being a good thing because, as all of you know, the Paris attacks happened in November, and our original trip was scheduled at that time. So our trip was postponed, and while I think we all may have had a little bit of anxiety about what to expect because of the Paris attacks, we still ended up going on December 11th, and we were met there by some protesters and demonstrations because COP21 actually ended the day that we arrived. And so there were many people out in the streets of Paris when we went to the Eiffel Tower, and you'll see some photos later on here. There were people everywhere talking about climate change, which is pretty amazing. So our trip was pretty incredible. We ended up going to 4 different cities, staying in those 4 cities, and traveling by plane, by lots of trains, and by lots of automobiles. And so we literally were on the go the entire time we were there. We worked on production projects with 6 different companies, and the students here were a director, editor for 2 of the 6 companies. And all of these companies were amazing. Us with production and entertainment backgrounds, science is very foreign to us in some cases, right? So here we're thrown into an environment with some companies that were doing incredible things with science to improve the world, and it was just incredible to see what they were doing. So while we did get to do a little bit of sightseeing, which was pretty incredible, we spent a lot of time working on production projects. We put in some long days and some good times with those companies, and many of them we met for the very first time while we were there, so it was a true experience. So now I'd like to open up this session to the rest of our panel so we can discuss some of the things that happened. I have some questions, and I'll be showing some photos related to our trip as we go throughout the presentation. And 3 of the videos that we worked on while we were there are actually finished, they're complete. So we'll show you those videos as well of what we did with those sustainable companies. So each of the directors for each of the projects are going to share a little bit about each of the companies with you, and they're going to tell you what they're doing in order to make some change. And if there's anything else you guys want to share about that experience too, feel free. So we'll start here with LAC Tips, and Dimitri was our director for the LAC Tips group. And Dimitri, can you share with us some of the specific things that LAC Tips is doing in order to help the environment?
LAC Tips, hi everyone. LAC Tips is very, very interesting company, and basically their log line is the Milky Way of plastic. Basically what they do is they find a way to make product, including plastic, from cow's milk, protein. And the way they does the plastic, it's water soluble, and it's biodegradable, and it could be used in many industries such as pharmaceutical company industries, hospitality industries, dental hygiene, and it was very interesting being a part of that, directing that project, because I see the huge potential of the company. And plastic, it's one of the main things that pollutes, and it's very difficult to clean. And once this plastic it's gone, then means that we're on a better track if we can solve somehow to get rid of all the plastic. And actually, I just read in the news yesterday that San Francisco was one of the first cities in the United States to ban selling plastic bottles in public spaces, which is amazing. And everything good happens. Somehow everything good happens from California. I don't know why, but everything starts from there. So basically that's it.
The company was incredible because it's the first type of product that's plastic that's completely biodegradable. It leaves absolutely no film in the water, and so which is pretty awesome. So those little there's the little pods that they have with dishwashing detergent and things like that, just completely disintegrates. You can even eat it. Okay, so it was really, really cool. And I know Dimitri's working on editing the film that was created there as well. The next company I want to talk about is Biome, and Biome was Dionne's project. Dionne, what would you like to share about Biome?
Okay. Hi everyone. So Biome is a startup company that specialize in improving water quality. They use a crustacea, which is the Gammarus fussarum, that is native to France, and they cage them. They have them acclimatized, and then put them back in the water, like continental waters, streams, rivers, and lakes, to check the toxic level. And they keep them in there for 7 or 21 days, and then take them back to the laboratory to check that poison that's inside of them. And that's really good for the environment, because pharmaceutical companies, cosmetology, just energy, and all the other organizations, we all need water in products that we use. So knowing that level of toxin will obviously help us to improve the quality of water for all human beings and all living things, really. So that's what Biome, how it's pronounced, that is their focus, and they are really, really progressing well, and I think it's just really important what they're doing. Thank you.
So as you can see in some of the images here, we've got to film down by a river in France. And so they showed us exactly what the process is and how they collect these little creatures, shrimp-like creatures, and test them for pollutants and things, which is pretty incredible. So our next company is Coldep. And Dimitri, this one's yours again.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about Coldep.
Coldep, it's located down on the outskirts of Montpellier, which is on the Mediterranean. And basically what they do is they clean water. They find a new way to clean water by vacuum extraction of the CO and the particles at the same time, and water circulation. So basically, they have this huge, not huge, but this like a machine that basically what they do is they insert gas into the water, which is oxygen, for example. They insert oxygen into the water that and they suck it with a special vacuum machine that basically separates the dirt, which any particles, any materials that hard materials, also separates the CO, the carbon dioxide from it, and also separates the water from it as well. So it's basically it's a 3-in-1, if you want to say so. And it's they use this particular in the water vacuuming is basically used in the petroleum industries. So it helps in the wells that by extracting oxygen, they don't let bacteria grow on the pipes. So that's why they it helps corrosion of the pipes. So the pipes won't get corrosed. The circulation of the water is used in the preliminary in the fishing industry. By moving the water around, circulating the water, they reduce the carbon dioxide and they extract the fish waste, which is a big used to be this is one of the biggest problem in the fish industry. Is the waste. So basically, they extract the CO from the water and they reuse the water. At the same time, they also extract all the pollutants from the fish, which they use it again for in the crops. It's like fertilizing.
Yeah, so they do a great job of filtering the water. In other words, to make sure that it's clean and something that we can use and help with raising fish and all types of different things. So. Our next company is HydroQuest, and we actually have videos for the next 3, so we'll show you the ones that actually came from our project there. And they, I think they also explain what they do really well, so we probably don't need to explain as much too.
Right.
But Justice, you want to set something up and tell us a little bit about the experience with HydroQuest?
Absolutely. So HydroQuest is a company that started about 5 years ago, and their technology is in manufacturing hydrokinetic turbines, which is like windmills, only for the ocean. They are on barges on top of the water, so for rivers and for oceans. And the criteria are, they're different for the site, and it explains in the video, so I don't want to take too much of that information away for you. But I think that HydroQuest is an up-and-coming company with technology that will potentially get areas of the world that aren't connected to the power grid, electricity, without having to resort to polluting energy sources like diesel generation or waiting many years for dams. Mm-hmm. So here's HydroQuest. I hope you like the video.
Yeah, and here is the wonderful video that was created here.
We are the most advanced in this country and probably around the world. Our company was created in 2010 here in France, in Grenoble, which is the world birthplace of hydroelectricity. Before 2010, there were 10 years of R&D research in university institutes here in Grenoble, but also in Paris. And result of this research is the invention of this concept, the hydrokinetic turbines for rivers, for estuaries, but also for the ocean. The market is everywhere in the world, on all continents, as long as you have rivers and some speed and people. For the site to be good for technology, you need at least 2 meters depth, which is about 6 feet for one machine. 80 kilowatt machine, it would be 12 feet. And we need at least 1.5 meters per second in speed for the machines to be an appropriate solution. There's about 80 companies around the world who are developing this type of technology, hydrokinetic turbines for rivers. The advantage of our system with the two vertical axes with the contra-rotary wheels is that it will work without having to change anything on the machine. Take the example of Africa, but we could take many other examples. 2/3 of the population are not connected to the grid. There is 93% of the hydroelectric potential in Africa is not used. So this is a real problem that we want to contribute to solve. We will sell this equipment to clients which are electricity producers around the world. Big or small, public or private, doesn't matter. We sell to these organizations that have to set up the network, get the authorizations, sell the electricity, get paid, and all these things. We will bring the machines to these organizations. Our aim is to be less expensive. So the time is good now, is ripe for these technologies and other renewable technologies to emerge. We saw that at COP21 in Paris. Energy transition is a must, and money must be put on the table especially by rich countries for the general transition to happen. Our market is a world market. Very clearly, I think we'll be 95% in the export market out of France in 3-5 years to come, in all continents, and that's what we are up to. And we'll stay ahead, and we're going to deploy worldwide in the years to come.
That was hours of filming that she edited down to like 3 minutes, and she got all those cool graphics in there, and good job. That was really well done. So the next one here is also Justice, and she finished this one as well, and did you just finish this week?
Oh yeah, just last night.
Just last night. Okay, so you guys are for sure the first
out of
people
the
to see
day.
this. Okay. So Le Castmate was also in Grenoble, and Grenoble is surrounded by the French Alps, okay, which is, as you can imagine, is just such a beautiful place. But what would you like to share about Le Castmate before we
Sure.
show the
Le
video?
Castmate located in Grenoble, and Grenoble is actually a town of innovation. They call it Innovation Valley. And the French organization, the French Science Center, created a initiative or a plan to target young people to getting involved with digital technologies and getting them connected with climate change issues using that technology. So what they have here in Grenoble is open fabrication labs to the public. So anybody can attend these. There's subscription plans, but for students it's a reduced rate. And they have top-of-the-line industry fabrication equipment, 3D printers, a bunch of equipment that I can't even pronounce or begin, like they have laser cutters in there, and anyone can walk in and use this equipment. And what's one of the things they've used this lab for was to create an exhibit, which was featured at COP21. And the exhibit is a 3D simulator, and it actually shows you the effects of climate change as a whole globally. So I will let you go ahead and check it out.
So this is our next video, and this is for Le Castmate.
We are part of the French movement of science centers and science communication to the public. The idea is to give tools to these people to educate others, and to spread the world with this idea of being aware of that change and willing of doing something.
So one of the things we're doing is we're creating an exhibit about the maker movement, about the do-it-yourself, about the fact that more and more we can build things for ourselves or for people around us that solve real issues or that are real useful objects for our daily life with our own hands using digital technology.
We have two big parts in the exhibition. One is the global issue of climate change. We created a movie, an immersive movie that you can see through Oculus Rift, which is a mask of virtual reality. And you can dive into the topic, and you can go out of the Earth to have a look on the global effects of the climate change. And we made half of the exhibition inside the Fab Lab. So we made it with the machines of the Fab Lab, but also with the people working in the Fab Lab. They take the topic for themselves and a viewpoint on what is technology and the connection between technology and climate change. We couldn't have made this exhibition as it is if we didn't have the Fab Lab close next to it, because it's a circulation between them. It's a way to be inspired also, to make this exhibition very artistic and very open.
Anyone can come here, anyone can learn how to use any of these machines, and then they can make anything they want, as long as they share openly the stuff they're making here. So the Fab Lab for me is a precursor to a future where fabrication is much more localized, but design is for the globe, and in which we hope to stop sending files to the other end of the globe to make things in a million pieces and then send them out again to all the places where we want them, but send out emails all over the globe and then make things locally. We realize that people often just simply are not aware of what it is. The media hailed the coming of 3D printing as something that will save the world. I'm sorry to say that it will not, but it is part of a tool set that we have right now that might altogether, with our input, effectively change the world. But the way we'll be making those things is going to be radically different from the way we make things right now. The world is changing in a very rapid way, and it has been doing so for a while now, but if you look at the rate of change, that also changes. And change is becoming more and more radical more quickly, and so accepting change is something that we'll have to get used to very fast. Because the processes that we are part of in innovation and in technological advancement are very much prone to that. And so if we can understand it and work with it, and we can accept change faster and adapt faster to new systems, seeing the light, I think we can make the planet a little bit better than it is right now.
The COP21 was focusing on the government and how we can negotiate between rich countries, poor countries, how can we manage the earth, but at our own scale we can also do things, and we try here to make the connection and to show them that everything is connected. And this is one of the most important things, I believe, to teach about climate change and the everyday life in this environment.
That's great. So our last company we're going to talk about, and this was a very different situation. I'll let Dionne fill you in on the details, but this is Enerby. So tell us a little bit about Enerby, but also about how this was different from the other projects.
Okay, so Enerby is located in Grenoble, France, and this project was more of a commercial. Everything was laid out beforehand, how it was supposed to be. Not every single frame, but every single clip, the sequence was already laid out. So instead of like a mini doc, it's more of a commercial for this company that they harvest human energy and motion to power. Am I here? Yes. All right. So they use piezoelectricity, which basically is pressure from your bones, and magnetism to harvest motion to power smart objects like your smartphone or a gate opener. And I'll just let you watch the video, and it will hopefully explain a few things. Thank you.
All right, we're ready for the video. Thanks. I think.
NRB is a startup company who will provide you a new solution to forget every battery and wire in the remote controls and every electronic device you have in your life. Thanks to different patents we have, we are able today to develop a new harvester that will harvest electricity from every movement of everyday life. You will be able to provide a small amount of energy, of electricity, that will supply a remote control or anything you want to supply with that. When you have a dimmer today, you need to plug the dimmer on the wall to have wire or battery in order to control the light. With NRB, you can forget the wire, you can forget the battery you could put in a remote control and directly remote the light just by the movement.
Justice was also one of the stars of the commercial. She was put to work. She didn't know until that day that she was going to be on camera. So it kind of worked out that way. But we had a great time working with these companies. Like I mentioned, most of them we didn't speak to at all until that day. Pierre and Clement were our main source of contact until we arrived. And then, just imagine, you show up to work on a project like this and it's like the people you're working with you've never met before, and they speak a different language as their first language. And so there were some significant, while it was awesome and the coolest experience ever, there were some significant challenges there too. So I want to ask you guys, what do you consider to be some of the biggest challenges that we faced while working on the projects over in France? And we'll just start and go down the line so you guys can all share. So Dimitri, would you like to start first?
Sure. The biggest challenges, well, the biggest challenges, the challenges changed their priority as we went there and we start, working together. One of the
Dimitri, you should share your biggest challenge of our trip, because
that was
we had one particular challenge that was out of all of our control. But go ahead and share what happened.
This was like one of unexpected things. Well, we were in Paris and we are going to Lyon by train, and in the morning, once we arrived in Lyon, it was about 3 hours. 3 hours drive. I mean, the train. How you call that?
Train ride. Yeah, a train ride.
Train ride. And it was very quiet, very hot, and very weird experience on the train. Don't you think? I think it's like, yeah, a little bit different. And anyway, the next day in Lyon, we wake up. We're supposed to go and work on our first project, which was lactips. And I was carrying my purse. They call it main purse in Europe. It sounds kind of,
It's a bag.
It's
Over
bag.
the shoulder bag.
So I have my passport, my other documents in there, and then all of a sudden I ended up forgetting them in the train. And I called the train station. I went to the train station. No bags, no passport, no nothing. So Isla was like, and then I had to direct the first project, which was the lactips, and so that's why I said that everything changes. Challenges are piling up.
Which he did a great job directing under that pressure. Just imagine you lose all your identification, everything, and he was totally professional through the whole thing. And then tell him what happened. How did it end?
It ended up that I was preparing myself to spend another couple weeks in Paris, which is, it didn't feel that bad. I'm stuck in Paris. There's nothing to do. I mean, there's nothing else I can do.
Right.
I'm stuck in Paris.
Right.
And but apparently somebody found it and turned it in, and he actually messaged me on Facebook on Messenger, which I didn't have installed. I just had the message on Facebook. So I installed it. I don't know why I installed it. 3 days after, I installed the message, and I see that he messaged me the day after I lost my passport. He said, "Hey, Jude, I found your passport in your bag." I said, "Oh my God, are you just for real?" So I wanted to see him and take him to a dinner, do something for him. And he was busy anyway, but they invited him to come to Florida one day because he really, because I have so much documents in there, which are very important for me. And,
but it all worked out. Thankfully.
All worked out, and
I know.
we were traveling with the French ambassadors in US, you know, the scientific attaches, and they are like freaking out. And, oh my God, we're gonna be stuck with this guy now for another 2 weeks, and we all like, you know, it was really surreal, but at the end of the day, it worked out.
It was amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. So how about you, Dionne? Any challenges? Your biggest challenges?
I would say waking up those first 2 mornings to meet you at your hotel, and we had to go down those hundreds of steps in very cold weather, but then I got acclimatized. So it wasn't really a challenge, it was just very different. That was it for me.
How about you, Justice?
For me, it was making sure that all the equipment was with us and we didn't leave anything behind, because traveling and being in almost a different city every night, and you have the school's equipment, it's not yours, and you're worrying about like, oh, did I grab that lens cap? Did I get the tripod plate? Did I do this? Did I do that? And it got to the point where we were overlooking things, like literally forgetting. Like Dionne had a memory card in her hand and she put it somewhere, and then she went to go get it again and she didn't know where she put it, because it's just like trying to keep track of everything, so we didn't want to lose anything important, like how Dimitri lost his passport. So it was very important. We kept track of everything. So traveling every day, that was a huge challenge, but in the end, nothing was lost. I mean, we made it back with
Except
everything.
my diamond earring.
Yes, by the way, I never lost anything in my life. This was the first time I ever lose something, and I want to thank especially to you guys by being supportive, and also to the people that organized the trip. You know, like Pierre and Clement, they were very helpful.
Yes.
Any step, they are really compassionate to all of us, to all of our issues, and they help us with everything they could.
They were extremely kind.
Extremely kind.
Extremely kind. So what did you guys enjoy? There has to have been a highlight, something that you enjoyed the most. So is there a memory or something that you will probably never forget from the trip? We'll start with Justice this time.
Oh, okay. What was the question?
What did you enjoy most?
Enjoy most? I'd say was being able to operate the camera when we were shooting. I enjoyed that a lot, especially the part where we got to go down in the river and just go wherever, like in that area, and just, you know, get the shots that you want to get, what you see, and you making that happen, and just being able to go on this trip and be in another country and do what I love, cam hopping, and it was just overall very enjoyable. And also taking pictures. I swear, if there wasn't enough time, I was always straggling behind. They were always like 20 feet ahead of me, like, come on, Justice. Running back down the street, catching up with them, because I was in the middle of getting some great photos. Because especially in Paris, we were there less than 24 hours, and then we had to get on a train to Lyon. So, you know, used up every minute of it.
Yes, absolutely. How about you, Dionne?
For me, well, first it would be the culture. I really enjoyed the French culture. They're very different kind of people. They're very nice and polite and quiet. You barely hear them speak unless you speak to them. I enjoyed working with everyone. Dimitri, yes. And Pierre and Clement. That was probably one of my greatest moments. They're extremely kind, extremely thoughtful, and that's very important, that people who take you to different countries look out for you even more than they look out for themselves. So for me, that would be the epitome of my trip.
Awesome. How about you?
It's very hard to separate one particular point that really I like. It's the whole thing is just, you know, the whole trip was just amazing. Being able to do what you love and being able to learned so much new stuff, new information that there's not even a newspaper yet. For example, from the source, developing new renewable energies, plastic, motion sensors, energy, hydroquest, the turbines that actually don't need any power, and then you can drop them in the middle of Africa, and then as long as there's a river that moves, people around it can have electricity. It's amazing, amazing stuff, and makes you think like, what's your purpose in life, and take a vision back and forward to see what you want to do in life. And this whole trip was such an awakening moment for me, and being able to work with this great crew, and thank you to Heather for being such a nice and organized, because I'm not the organized person in the world, but thanks to you, we managed it. But particular about one little thing was I tried, the food was amazing. Everywhere you go in Paris, it's so true. Everything is true, they say about the food. It's the best food in the world, period. It's true. And I experienced it. And I actually ate something that's I would never push myself to eat. It's called beef tartare, which is raw beef.
It's raw beef.
Yeah, raw beef. And it looks like a huge...
Ground beef.
Ground beef.
Ground beef.
And it looks like a huge, with a bunch of seasoning, and it was the best ever. I mean, it's like...
It was delicious.
I
can vouch. Yeah, there were some definite differences. Everything about a place. I don't know if any of you guys have traveled outside the country, but I strongly recommend it because it will change your entire view of the world. Okay, and so I think all of us had those moments where we're like, wow, this place is so different, but so much the same, and we can relate to these people so well. And there were some hidden gems too. I know we took a shot for Enerby from the top of a mountain. It was like a fort that's on the top of the side of this French Alp. While they were taking a shot at night, which was this beautiful landscape with all these gorgeous lights of the city, Clement says to us, hey, I know of this secret tunnel around the corner that we can take you to and show you. And so here we are trucking it down this tunnel that was carved out who knows how many centuries ago, who knows all those stories that tunnel could tell, right? And just amazing things. So experiences like that, and then getting a tour from the history professor at the University of Lyon, where he showed us all around the city of Lyon. There were some definite awesome highlights that we were able to squeeze in between shots, which was pretty incredible. Yes, yeah.
How can we forget we visited the Lumiere Museum?
Yes.
Explain what that is for the students that may not know who the Lumiere brothers are.
Oh, the Lumiere brothers. They created the cinematograph and the projector, the first ones, right? Yes. And they have a whole museum. It's actually in the home that they lived in. And just being able to see all those cameras and the equipment they talked about in film history, having it right there in front of you just meant a lot to me as a film student, and seeing all the projections and the old timers. I actually discovered that the first public showing of the projector, the people leaving the factory, was first shown on my birthday, December 28th.
Oh.
Yeah, and I was like, this is a sign.
She's meant to be a filmmaker.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Oh, I didn't see the museum. I was in Paris getting my passport back, but
It's okay.
I guess
He got to spend a whole extra day in Paris doing other things, so.
But I guess I have to go back and see the museum.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
You
so
mentioned it.
Dimitri, you mentioned some things about the food, right? Dionne is a little bit of a selective eater, right?
Very.
And so, how about you ladies? Can you share a little bit about your experience with the food there?
Delicious.
Yes, delicious when you do find what you like to eat. So we went lunchtime. We went into this street that's hidden somewhere, and I asked for chicken, and they bring out raw meat. and tell me to cook it myself, pretty much, on a hot stove. On a hot stone, and after cooking this meat with all the herbs and spices, it was delicious. But it was scary at first, and then just absolutely enjoyable. So, yeah.
Yeah. So believe it or not, there's not a lot of. They don't have a lot of chicken on the menus in France. We experienced.
Yes.
So just a few places. Dionne could have chicken. The rest she's kind of stuck with a vegetarian diet. But yeah, it was all good though. I wish the food in America was just it was amazing.
They had a lot of turkeys there. Chicken.
Yes.
A lot of duck.
Yes, they had lots of duck for sure.
Their croissants are the best.
And another thing that was interesting is that they don't stay open all day, the restaurants. It's either for lunch hour or for dinner hour. That's it. The rest is bakeries.
So don't try to eat at 2 p.m. You won't find a single place open, all right? Everybody's home with their families, and relaxing, which is great. So what advice do you guys have for the students that are here about working with international clients after working in the environment we were in? Dionne, you start.
I'll go first, okay. Well, first and foremost, if you pre-pro, always know where you're going, obviously, and learn the culture as much as you can. Learn a few greetings, whatever language it is. People, they're not going to be really super impressed if you know they just want to know that you know how to say good day, good morning, and please and thank you. So learn about their culture, their likes, their dislikes. Like when you order food, do not take the food up until they finish with your entire order and all that. And say, like with the clients, the companies, just be polite, ask as many questions as possible. Always go prepared. If you're not sure of something, don't act uncertain. Liaise with your teammates and come up with another plan. And if you need to step away for whatever reason, step away. And someone else in the team can take the lead. It doesn't matter. There's no power struggle, no ego. You're going to do what you love, and if you're doing what you love, you just let go. Freedom. And that's basically my advice. Just be happy.
What you, Justice?
Get to know the client. I know for a couple of the shoots, we got the chance to actually go out and have lunch with the client before we actually made the video. And then other times we just showed up and like, okay, let's shoot this. There was, would you like some coffee or something like that? Try and break the ice and get to know them on a personal level, and try and not make it so all completely business, because they're nice people. They treated us well the whole time, and it was just a great experience. And I feel like when we did have lunch with them or got to know them better, like with Pierre and Clement, I feel like I could work with them perfectly, but every day was a new client, so it was like adding a new friend to your circle. So definitely make an effort to get to know them better.
To you, Dimitri.
Maybe focus is probably the most important thing that when you work with international clients, and when you focus and maybe listen. Listening is very hard. I'm finding it to be the hardest thing in the world. Just to shut up and listen. It's like one of the things that everybody's appreciating, and to say the right thing at the right moment, whether international clients or not, it's very, very important. And since you mentioned it's about making friends, I think it's very important to make friends and make, and hopefully work with them again one day. And you mentioned that we went to the lunch, the CODEP guy, it was December 17, and he showed me his ticket for Star Wars release. And he said, "You're going to see Star Wars before Home America sees Star Wars." I said, "Yeah, I have the ticket tonight." And the movie was coming out on the 18th. He said, "Oh my God." So I asked him to take a picture on the front of the theater with Star Wars ticket right before he goes in. And he Facebooked it to me, so I Facebooked it to all my friends. Just you see the case, seeing Star Wars right now, which was, it just trying to find similar things that you guys are interested in and connect with people, make friends, because this is what's going to count at the end of the day.
Absolutely. It's all about finding that common ground, and I think all these guys did such a great job of finding that common ground, and not only with the international clients, but with each other as well. And I got to know all of them very well on this trip. I feel like we'll be lifelong friends now after this trip to France. Each of them, though, are very different. They're all from different parts of the world, okay? And they all have very different strengths. And so I want to speak to that as well. Justice is from Alaska, okay, which is almost, I mean, it's still America, but it's, come on, let's face it, it's way far away, right? We've got Dionne, who is,
It's both Canada.
we have Dionne, who is from Jamaica, and we have Dimitri, who is from Bulgaria. And so we are a very international group ourselves, right? So I would like you guys, quickly before we turn it over to the audience to ask some questions, what advice do you have for them about building a strong team when the team itself is very diverse and has different strengths and perspectives? Justice, would you like to start us off?
Well, first of all, you want to be aware of those before you're out on location shooting in front of the client. So we got some time traveling together, and we had a few days before we actually shot. But whenever there was an issue working together, just, there was eye contact or, some gestures, but we talked about it after. You don't want to make the client know that there's issues, because that's when you have a problem. So working with each other and then talking things through after. And it's always better to make sure you address any potential problems that could happen before you're actually shooting in front of them. So that's my advice.
My advice would be to get to know each other before you travel overseas or wherever it is that you're going to work, because you get to learn about people. For different people, learn about people differently. Some are more discerning and perceptive than others, and some are more lax. It's just all about getting to know each other and knowing what your goal is. What is your goal? Is your goal to go out and work for someone, or is it about you? And once you know what that is, then everything's pretty easy from then. And all the other things Justice mentioned.
Just get together and get drunk, and then all of a sudden you're gonna find out who's what and what. No, I'm just kidding.
We didn't do that.
Just kidding. Well, my advice, when it's very, very difficult to work, to build a team and work the very first time to see each other and do a project together. So we have different people, different culture, different issues. We like different stuff, different food. We like different clothes, different shoes. Everything is different. So it's very hard to put a team together. But as long as you have a good leader, for example, like Torres was, like our producer, and basically listen, focus, listen, appreciate, evaluate, and then you should be fine.
I think everybody was very respectful to each other and their differences, and again, we tried to find some common ground. And I think everybody too, in a working environment, they kind of identified the roles that they felt most comfortable in, and let each other do that. You know what I mean? And I think that really helped everything run smoothly. I think considering the pressure we were under and how much work we accomplished in such a short period of time, I think things went extremely well. So I was really happy with the way everything turned out. So at this point now, I'd like to open this opportunity up to questions for the panelists. If you have a question, please raise your hand and a microphone will be brought over to you. For those of you that are joining online, you can direct your questions to the online moderator, who will try to accommodate any questions that you have. So do we have any questions from our audience? Oh, wonderful. We have a few questions. Thanks, guys.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to know how did you deal with the language barrier? Did you have any problems with communicating, or did anyone misunderstand things and anything got mixed up in translation? I just wanted to know how you dealt with that.
Dionne, would you
Okay,
like to?
hi. Are you from Jamaica? Okay, hi. Well, for me, I did start to learn French years ago, but just never practiced it enough. But I was comfortable, I understood what was going on, and I would ask questions, like with Clément and Pierre. If I was not sure of something, I would always ask. And being from Jamaica, we're, you know, like any other country, we have so many people around us, and we're taught languages in school like anywhere else. And I just, for me, it was, nah, it was okay. So, yeah.
And to add to that, the whole time we were there, we either had Clément or Pierre with us, and they could, if there was somebody who didn't speak English, you know, translate. With our clients, that wasn't as much as an issue. Dionne did have a client that mostly is going to need some translations. But another thing, just out and about, you know, at the bakery purchasing something, there was an instance where the cashier spoke English, but we had to speak it slow, because as soon as we were like, you speak English? And then we start talking really, really fast, and she's like, I can speak English if you speak it slowly. So there was that, and you keep that in mind. And it's just like us, if we're learning another language and we don't speak it as fast and fluently, they're thinking while you're speaking.
And I just try not to speak Bulgarian much. That helped me a lot.
We actually found some Bulgarian people there that Dimitri was able to find some common ground with too over there. So it was kind of interesting. But you know, in France, many of the people there are taught English while they're in in school. So they might have a basic understanding of English, but some of them are very out of practice. So you have to keep that in mind and just be patient and do your best. So, and it always helps to learn some basic words like, you know, hello and goodbye and thank you and please and things like that. So we all learned those very quickly when we got there, just to show that we had respect for their language and their culture.
Yeah, what was the name? Grenoble?
Especially please. You have to say please whenever you ask for anything. They're very polite.
So we have another question.
On the topic of language, you mentioned that get to know some words.
Yes.
Like, what are the most words that you learned, like, that you found useful?
Before going there?
Yeah, that you didn't think that you were going to use. I mean, this question is to everyone, but yeah. So, how did you learn it? The preliminary words that it goes through.
Okay, well, being raised in Jamaica, it's like proper. You must say please, you must say thank you, you must greet someone the first time you see them for the day by saying good morning or good afternoon. So I knew those were words that I needed to know in any language. So formal and informal, like instead of salut or bonjour, you say bonjour, depending on who it is, and asking someone their name, how they are. If you're in the airport, how do you find something? Where is this? A croissant, don't say croissant, it's croissant and stuff like that. Just learning how to pronounce words that are used all the time, like a food that is well known to France. Know how to pronounce that one food, because everybody knows that you have baguettes and croissants. So just simple things like that, and that's just how I did it, based on my internal feeling and watching videos and going on YouTube and what to do and what not to do, and situations, and use Duolingo, which is free for everyone.
Yeah, when you're immersed in the culture, you catch on pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Like I think all of us learned the basics within the first couple days we were there. We were like, okay. So, and we had Dionne too, who knew a little bit more to consult, which was good. We have another question?
Language gesture.
Hi,
Yes.
it's Michael Fallon.
Hi.
I'm a Film Bachelors student.
Hi.
I know
Hi.
some of you are there.
Hi, Michael.
You talked about challenges before, but what was your biggest overcome? What did you actually learn the most from this trip?
Perseverance. It doesn't matter what is happening around you, you have to be intent on what your purpose is and persevere through every obstacle, and just always, there's nothing, everything is what you imagine it to be, what you perceive it to be. So whether it's walking 1 hour to meet Heather at the hotel, and you have to do it 2 mornings in a row. So the first time, it's a little bit hard, but you go home and you wake up the next day and you're like, I have to do this again. so I'm going to be stronger because I have to do it. So it's a mindset. So the entire process of anything you do is all about persevering, never giving up. If you fall a few times, you just get up and you just go again, and you know that the line, the finish line. But when you get to that finish line, there is another journey that you have to take. Life is just continuous, and you have to also know when to rest during that time. At some point, whether it's to just look into the sky and take 5 minutes and just breathe that in. So, does that answer your question, Michael? Yep.
And I'll go ahead and add on to that. For me, with HydroQuest, I was a little bit nervous because it was a more established company there. And we show up, and it's more or less of a white room. Just wearing a white shirt, very harsh lighting. Oh, by the way, we can't shoot any of the equipment because it's not technically owned by them. They just owned the technology that they manufactured, so it belongs to the manufacturer company. So it's like, oh, well, what am I going to do this, to make this edit complete? And I'm gonna have to make it the best as it possibly can be. So here I have this guy, white shirt, white wall, just talking. And so for me, the overcoming part is, I mean, obviously walking in that situation, we didn't know what we were going to have exactly. Like, we could do pre-pro, but that's pretty much all you could do. We didn't know where we were going to be shooting, if we got to shoot the equipment, and in my case, we didn't. So for me, the biggest overcoming was to be able to accomplish a well-rounded edit and to show more than what I thought I had in the beginning, because it actually turned out really good. They provided me with all the files, and most of the B-roll there is all files that they provided me. And it's weird because he has previous videos, and he does great in those videos, and like his pronunciation and everything, and he's better on camera. And so for me, he didn't really have that because he's speaking in English. And after everything, he kind of had this weird laugh, and it was quite a challenge to edit for me, and I didn't think it was going to turn out as good as it did. So, biggest overcoming there.
Which turned out to be a great edit.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you.
For me was to learn how to prioritize your problems. And your problem just comes in arriving, with a passport ink, and you have to overcome the issues that they're recording you back. You just put them in the back, and then you're gonna get them later, and just focus on what you're doing. But the biggest overcome was the passport for me. It was the first shoot. We never worked together before that.
True.
First day.
Ever.
First shoot. I'm running the show, and my mind is, I'm stuck in Paris.
Which is a good thing.
Which wasn't, I know.
We all
but
cheered in the
still-
car. When we found out that they found his passport, it was literally like Pierre, Clement, like all of us were like jumping up and down, and
Yeah.
big celebration moment. So we have one more question here.
Hi, I had a couple questions. I just wanted to know if, from your experience, do you believe if people in Europe are more concerned with climate change as opposed to America, or how they compare, and if people here how can students here or people in the States in general can get involved either with just climate change, how would you recommend, or with these companies?
Go ahead.
Yes, absolutely. I think France is one of the leaders in promoting and raising awareness about global warming and climate change. Every company we went, I'm sure pretty much every company we went, they somehow get some kind of a government assistance in bonds or research, or some kind of a government was involved with helping their development. And with the GOP21, with the big conference in Paris right now, that was actually historic one. I think they signed very important documents about the carbon pollutions, reducing the carbon pollutions, and tons of other things. And I believe that the United States has the power to become a leader of green energy, and I think it will become one.
Any of you want to comment on that?
I know that like their vehicles, they're smaller and they're more fuel efficient. I noticed we were just walking by and we had, you know, Pierre stops at this one station, this electrical charging station, and they're just now installing them all up throughout France, and it was really awesome because he's like, yeah, my boss works with your boss over in Washington DC, and he can just walk up to these representatives of this company and have them show us all of their equipment, and seeing something like that just with their cars. And when you compare how big of the vehicles we have here in America, it's like, man, what are we doing? We're the ones doing something wrong here in the United States. And I really would love to see more of the transition there, especially with the, you know, eco boosts and everything involving the new technologies and vehicles and the carbon footprint, and bringing that down, because this is a worldwide global movement for the first time in many years. It was first head ambassadors or of country of their embassies. Everyone has agreed to bring this carbon footprint down worldwide. So the United States is included in that. So I foresee the future becoming a greater and greener place.
And you were asking about how you can get involved here. So there are lots of local organizations right here in Orlando, like Compost Orlando, and organizations that have to do with organic food and water recycling. You can just go online and just search for these places, contact them, ask them about what they're doing, ask them how you can get involved. Composting is simple. You can start a composting, initiative. Very simple, just from your backyard, just from maybe your little garden on your patio. And everyone can get involved, because it takes everyone to make it work. So yes?
That's a great question, actually. On the train ride from Paris to Lyon, I was separated from them, and it was a unique ride because everybody was extremely quiet. You could hear a pin drop in that place. It was crazy. And so I look up, and there's a guy just a few rows down from me, and he's holding a book, and it says, "Wake Up America." Okay, and COP21 had just finished. And I'm sitting there as an American, surrounded by all these Parisians, just kind of like, okay, this is obviously the perception. Like, America needs to get with the times. They need to accept the fact that climate change is happening. And I think our culture, there's many people that just they're still in denial. So I think just making people aware, and I know many of you are content creators, you guys are artistic, creative people. I think that creates a huge opportunity for you to help bring awareness to certain causes that you believe in, if it's something that you believe in. So I want to encourage you guys to just keep making things. Don't wait for an opportunity like a contest to come along or something like that, like these guys participated in to help draw awareness to issues. So I think we have time for one more question, two more questions. So if you have any more questions, guys.
Morning to you. I'm Lux. I'd like to go back and touch on a little bit of the technology we're talking about here, how it hasn't shown up in the papers yet. As a group, what would you think would be the best way to sort of spread the knowledge of all these different innovations and technologies that are coming out among the populace? Because from pretty much everything that I've been watching is that technologies like this don't really make it to the mainstream media. So what's a great way to spread awareness about all these like alternate energy sources and ways of handling things?
You guys have any comments?
Actually, I can say something. Yeah. Well, that's what we've been doing. The French government in US, the embassy in US, it's exactly what he's trying to do, is to promote these companies here in the US. That's why we did the videos, and they're going to try to bring them in the US and try to promote them here. But the most important thing is who we elect in the offices. It's got to start from there. You as a person, you can create as many videos you want. We can put them on YouTube, and you know, everybody going to see them or whatever. But if you don't have the incentives and the people in the office to vote for these incentives, it helps your company to grow and to help you get contracts with either government or just help you out of financially with grants. I mean, I think that's the most important thing for me.
I agree.
Yeah, so video is definitely the best tool to spread the information about these different alternative fueling or something like that, energy options. And I would just suggest getting with companies, and social media is a huge tool for that, and putting your work on there. And for me, I always post everything on Twitter. If you use a hashtag or anything like that, more people see it. The more hashtags you use, if you direct it towards whatever that company is. For me, I participate with Full Sail in a lot of the productions I do. Full Sail's always tweeting back at me. And same with other companies, and you gain followers that way. So not just to promote yourself, but it's a great tool, social media, and the combination with video to show others. I mean, everyone has access to the internet. It's your tool, it's just how you use it.
And just talk about it. Talk about it with your friends, with your family, and everyone will just spread it. Just keep talking, keep action, take action, and all the other things. Yeah.
And I think we have time for one more question.
Okay, hello. I was actually just curious about if there was any project you guys would like to work on a world scale that would bring awareness to another subject.
That's a very good question.
Oceans.
To another subject, not climate change.
Not climate change at all? Just not
Another subject.
That's going very deep there. For me, it would be all about like the Syrian crisis, humanitarianism. I am definitely planning to focus on that in the near future. Just hunger, world poverty.
I like anything really. I get the motivation. I mean, it's a lot of film projects, obviously, that I use this for. But this is a opportunity that I came across that I just used my skill set towards. I mean, I love the climate. I love everything connected, and I want to help preserve that. And using my own capabilities and skills to help make that happen is really what I was doing here. I care about the climate, but I do care about working on productions and working in the industry, and probably on some fictional piece that probably has nothing to do and isn't going to change the world, but this opportunity definitely was life-changing for me personally. So just doing what I love is exactly in the trade, in the industry. It's just whatever the product is that I'm demonstrating my skills for has to do with it.
To me, maybe cancer research for kids, it's kind of getting involved more and more if I want to be able to be part of helping kids from cancer in research and promoting companies that are doing stuff, in donations, in charities. Actually, I'm doing a project right now with an artist from New Orleans that he goes and paints these beautiful paintings during charity events and auctions the paintings for the thousands of dollars at the end of the event for the charity, for example, the cancer research. And I'm really, stuff like that, it really excites me, it gives me energy to continue.
So I want to thank these guys because they've been just amazing to work with and so professional, and I know that all three of them are going to go extremely far in their careers after this because of their passion. And I want to thank you guys for attending the session. So let's give Dionne, Justice, and Dimitri a round of applause. Thank them for their knowledge today. So thank you so much and enjoy the rest of the Hall of Fame.
And thank you,
Thanks.
Soule, for having these projects, such as climate change.
Yep,
Wow.
such great.
Really, we need more projects in school like that.
And thanks, Heather, for being awesome.
Yes.
You're welcome.